Hello, my name is Alian, and today I'm facilitating a session of the Dee Sanction. This is a game. This is a game of how would I describe it? Elizabethan daring do. It's by Paul Baldowski. Forgive me, Paul. Um, uh, from the book, it's described as a traditional RPG, loosely based on historical fact and personalities, but which isn't about pedantry or historical purism. So we won't be arguing the toss about whether that collar is Elizabethan or in fact dates from the time of Charles I. This game has been organized as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's online games calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, then please search Gauntlet-RPG and come check us out. We have about 100 games a month online, and we'd love to have you come and play with us. We also publish things, and if you might have come across Hearts of Rulin, Brindlewood Bay, Trophy, all of those are published by the Gauntlet. If you are interested, then on an approximately, I guess, about 4 to 6 monthly basis, we have an opportunity to come and play with us at a Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend. I think the next one is likely to be at the end of June, early July, but I can't say for certain when that is at this point. If you like what we do, then you could subscribe to the Gauntlet Patreon. That allows all the kind of back office stuff to make this work. And at a certain level on the Patreon, you will get a copy of our zine codex. I think the current one runs to 80 or 90 pages, so it's somewhat above a zine. Approximately bi-monthly now, I think, because of its size. And at a certain level of Patreon, you would get priority access to get into the games that I've just talked about. So that's the Gauntlet. Come find us. Okay, this is a game where the players take the role of agents of Dr. John Dee, court astrologer and magician to Queen Elizabeth I. Again, I'm picking stuff out of the rules here. Agents are not heroes. Dee recruits ordinary people who had no future. Each of these characters are criminals, sentenced to be executed to pay for their heretical pursuits or connections. This is a time in history when Catholic and Protestants are at one another's throat across Europe, where anything smacking of heresy was met with either being burned at the stake or hung. So all the characters have been sentenced to death. They've been offered, though, a stay of execution and chance to right past wrongs by working to avert supernatural and magical threats to the realm, and to the Queen in particular. So our game will take place in an alternate England in the mid to late 1560s. I think I set this in about 1565, 66. It will take its cues from history, but will mix in supernatural elements, magic, and it will skew the conflicts of the time to suit the narrative purpose. There's more in the sense of agents. They are vulnerable and expendable. As far as Dee is concerned, they are already dead men. They are amateurs. For all that they may have had an occupation, they were never at the center of the heresy that they were part of. They are not experts in the source of enlightenment that they've discovered, but they know a little bit, and that is a dangerous thing. They are very slightly supernatural. Through Dee's intervention, they have been gifted with an angelic favor, the ability to make small changes in the world around them, and not very many times either. Of course, as I say, they're criminals, but they're also beneath us in the sense that they are, even if they come from a gentle background, even if they're gentleman or gentlewoman, they are beneath society because they've been disgraced. That doesn't mean they don't have the pretensions, but they no longer have the social position to really back it up if you scratch the surface. They are conflicted. They've been given a very difficult choice. Do you want to be hung or burned? Or do you want to confront supernatural horrors that may tear you to pieces? And they are mostly in the dark. Dr. Dee is remarkably careful with what information he reveals. And of course, if something does go wrong, he will blame them. They are scapegoats. In this session, we're going to introduce the agents. The setup is going to be that Dr. Dee is going to ask them to retrieve an item of import, the location of which will be revealed to the characters. And he's going to give them a way to help find it. The tone of this, well, this game is set at a dark time of religious intolerance when human life was cheap. Agents are going to be sent into situations where they rarely fully understand the risks or perhaps even understand what is required of them. The tone is intentionally dark. How dark will depend where the play takes us. But it isn't going to be a bundle of laughs unless you include the fear grins of our characters. Content warnings. In this first session, and maybe in the second, depending how far we get, because this is the first time I've run this game and this first time the players have played it, so we're still feeling our way a little bit. There is to be at least the inference of farm animal negligence resulting in death. There will be loss, there will be hopelessness, and there will be the complications of childbirth. The series in general is likely to include betrayal by their betters, gore, horror, the macabre, the occult, supernatural creatures, potentially reading truth and claw, as well as classism, given the nature of the stratification of the world. The thing that is fundamentally different from that world is that some of the, shall we say, wrong ways of looking at members of communities will not be part of our game. I'll come to that in a moment. Because we are going to be playing with some safety tools. We're playing with the Gauntlet Code of Conduct, which is really play respectfully. All these players are familiar with the Gauntlet, very familiar with the Gauntlet, and I've played with them before, so we know what we mean. Play respectfully. We were playing with an open door, so if something does come up in the game that means somebody needs to take a break, or whether something happens in the real world, it means they have to go and answer a doorbell, whatever. We hope they'll come back, but the open door is there. Because if this turns out not to be the game that they thought it was, they are not obliged to sit here and play if they're not enjoying themselves. We're playing with lines and veils. Lines are things which will not come up in the fiction. And my starting lines are sexual assault and sexual violence, though given the period, we may see an implied threat of that, or maybe some consequences, I don't know, but we will try to stay clear of that line. Harm to children, homophobia, racism, and sexism. So some of the words that in Elizabethan times would be associated to different sexual preferences or genders or ethnic backgrounds and heritages, that will not crop up. Classism will be there, though, because if you are a smelly oik, someone may call you a smelly oik. We're steering clear of infection and plague as a major plot point for fairly obvious reasons. And we are steering clear of cannibalism and detailed graphic descriptions of blunt force head trauma. And I would invite the players to add any more that they want to put on the bottom of this. We'll check in before we start play proper. In terms of veils, this is stuff that could crop up, well, might well crop up in the fiction, but we will draw a veil. We won't see the detail on screen. And that is perils to pregnant women and infants. That's in part because there is part of this that could refer to complications of childbirth, consensual sex, domestic violence, torture by PCs or NPCs, and romance with PCs or NPCs. And I will ask first, I don't expect, personally, I'd like to put a line on betrayal between PCs, because I don't think it's that kind of game. It may be that let's stick with us, because it could be that a character is going to be faced with a difficult choice. Do they turn their back on a character and leave them in trouble, or do they stay and help? So maybe ask first does work. So thank you, whoever put that in. Put it this way, I don't expect to see violent conflict between the characters. I've put down as interested supernatural and supernatural lore, horror, gore, and conceivably some betrayal of PCs, because it's that kind of game. So that is the outline of the game we are playing. Thank you, players, for your patience while I went through all of that. Can I ask, we'll go from left to right on the character keeper because I lack imagination. Can I say, Will, I should have said my pronouns are he, him. Will, would you introduce yourself, tell us your pronouns, and tell us about Titus Froste and his pronouns, if nothing else? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Will, pronouns he, him, and I'm playing Titus Froste, whose pronouns are also he, him, a scavenger, which is not a itinerant, like rag and bone man, but is in fact an officer of the ward, responsible for managing the handling and removal of domestic waste, like we all know, of course. And he hails from the hamlet of Glastonbury, where he has taken up with the Octagon Society, a splinter of the Knights Templar. I'm not sure he knows too much of that because he's not the brightest chap in the bunch, Titus Froste. But he has, however, wandered into some strange places, the Hollow Hills, and he is obsessed with the theories and legends of an inner world of lost people and forgotten knowledge, which has steeped him in his supernatural ways. And yeah, he's a bit of he scavenges, he's sneaky, he can climb. I guess that was the one out of the Hollow Hills thing that appealed to me. And he has scavenged a nice haul of good boots, travel cloak, and shovel for his scavenging duties. Very important things. And a glass eye that he's not quite sure what it came from.
I was going to say, I noticed the glass eye. And can I just ask, when you agreed, when you signed in blood in your cell on the night before you were due to hang as a heretic, when Dr. Dee came to you and offered you this reprieve, he also offered you an angelic favor. He regularly communes with the angel Uriel, and through the best intentions of the angel Uriel, he has granted you an angelic favor. What is that?
He has granted me the angelic favor of drip to trickle, leak, or perplex through angelic force. It seems to suit Titus well because he is most perplexed at much of what occurs before him.
Fine, I like that. Okay, Sabine, say hello, tell us your pronouns, and tell us about Theophilus Clark, his pronouns, and something else about him.
Yes, hello, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns. Theophilus Clark, however, uses he, him pronouns. Theophilus is a friar, or used to be a friar at least. He is a mendicant, walking around, preaching the word of God. As such, he has become associated with, I think, a sort of a intellectual society that calls itself the Star of Artemis, that says that religion stems from layers of deceit. True faith has been mired in ancient propaganda, and he believes that with quite a fervor. He has preached that a lot, maybe too much for people's tastes, such as that he ended up as a heretic on a pyre, I guess. He also has come into the possession of a book, Das Buch der Nacht, that are scroll diaries of a grand wizard who purports to have discovered the truth at the heart of the universe. And this book is written in German, and Theophilus has not been taught to read or write in German much. He knows a few words, but he mostly has puzzled about with this book. He wants to understand it because there is truth in there, and truth is important to Theophilus. He knows intellectually about the supernatural, but whenever it really comes up, he shies away from doing anything really, because it could go wrong, right? He's intelligent enough to be afraid of that. Physically, he is not a small man, neither is he emaciated or anything like that, but he doesn't carry around a large belly. He would if people would give him enough food, but they usually don't, for reasons I cannot really rightly explain. He knows how to flatter people, he knows how to quote the Bible and the verses, and he also knows some occult lore that he has gleaned from the book. He carries around the well-notched cutlass that Dr. Dee gave him because he's big, apparently, and that that's what you get. He has also wax candles wrapped in canvas, a sealed letter that he found somewhere, and a cryptic genealogy that came with the book that he has not yet clearly, but he thinks it has something to do maybe with the queen or the Plantagenets. He's not entirely sure.
Remains sealed.
Yeah, and the favor of
unknown seal.
And the favor of the angels that he has been given is the favor of Pool, which gives him the power or capacity to gather, coalesce, slide, and to splosh, which I find really, really important. Everybody should know how to splosh.
We look forward to seeing how that will impact on the play. Moving along, Paul, say hello, tell us your pronouns, and tell us about Captain Tobias Slater.
Hello, I'm Paul, he, him, and the character I'm playing is Captain Tobias Slater, he, him. Captain Tobias Slater is an ex-witch hunter, and he got the favour. He's executed many witches in the years and ended up in court, where he had some favour with the Queen, but according to him, some witch has outed him to the Queen as a Catholic. And as such, he has ended up on the pyre, a place where he normally places witches. And it seems to have gone full circle, and that's where he's found himself, only to finally be set free by John Dee. He still has some trappings of his previous existence, his well-notched cutlass and his fancy hat, and his metal spike, which he uses to test witches. And he has a concise local travel pamphlet for when he's out looking for witches. And he's been graced by the favour of angels with taint, which is to cloud, to toxify, or to discolour.
I have to ask, when you say he's been outed by a witch, he is actually a Jesuit, isn't he?
He is, but yeah, that was well disguised. Many disguises. But yes, some evil witch has allowed that knowledge to become free.
So presumably he became a witch hunter under a previous Catholic monarch. Let me think. Queen Mary, yes, the one before Elizabeth. Fine. And yes, he was likely to be burned at the stake as a heretic until Dr. Dee made him an offer he couldn't really refuse. And finally, Puckett, say hello, tell us your pronouns, and introduce us to Herr Maximilian Schwartz.
He's BRB'd.
Well spotted. We'll come back to Herr Schwartz in a moment. Okay, so do I have any questions for you as I go back along? Yeah, can I go back to Titus? You say he's not very bright, or he's not the brightest of people. And I have to say, as I look at that picture, he does not look like a man who is in command of all his intellect.
No, but he's the intellectual equal of Captain Tobias Slater. Let's put it that way.
And that's all that matters. Okay. But he has a strong feeling for the supernatural. Just has he had any brushes with the supernatural?
I think he has. I think amidst his duties of the waste and the scavenging and the proper disposal, there are those who keep to some of the old ways and leave out the sources of milk and so on, and indeed disrupting such offerings as wasteful. A travesty of the public good is what led Titus to a barrow of which he never found again. And the rather strange fellow there who told him the tale of what lies, the other king and queen of Albion.
Oh, that king and queen. Okay, right. Okay. Let me move along to Theophilus. I'm curious, Theophilus. You were ordained as a Catholic priest, and now find yourself preaching, that all religion is just a deceitful. It's all misleading the people.
No, not all religion.
Have I misunderstood?
No, not all religion, but there is a lot of fluff around what the word of God truly was, right? the Pope says one thing. Of course, the Pope is a nice bloke, and he has been chosen for a reason. God needs to have a reason, but he is an Italian, so well, who knew? Who knows? Anyway, no, there is a truth that goes deeper than what they say, what they claim that Jesus said, and that he didn't actually say. So
as an example of a true faith has been mired in ancient propaganda.
yes,
you have to you have to believe, but don't believe everything you read.
You can believe things you read, but yeah, things that you read have a higher credibility, of course, than things that people just tell you, because there are people who will tell you all kinds of stuff. But of course, some of these people who tell you all kinds of stuff will then write them down to gain higher credibility, and that's that you have to separate the the thing with the wet and the whatever it is.
The wheat from the chaff.
The wheat from the chaff. Yes, thank you. You have to separate that.
Good biblical reference. Thank you. Captain Slater, I think I've clarified your true religious leanings. Did you ever meet the Queen?
Yes, I think on quite a few occasions.
And when we say meet, do we mean in the same room as with the other 100 people?
Yes, I think I attended many balls.
Words were exchanged with Her Majesty.
Oh, I'm definitely a good-looking gentleman, so yes, I would have thought so. Strapping young man.
Yes, you are built, aren't you? You're a big bloke. Okay.
Hench, some would say.
Yes. And yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Let me go to Herr Schwartz. Puckett, say hello, tell us your pronouns, and now tell us something about Herr Schwartz.
Happily. Hi, I'm Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. Today, I will be playing Herr Maximilian Schwartz, who hails originally from Bremen, now considers his philosophical hometown to be Wittenberg, due to the bravery of Martin Luther, who correctly peeled back the scales from our eyes and revealed that we don't need intercession between God and man, that we don't need intermediaries, if you will, which just so happened to lean heavily into some of my own philosophical conceits at the time, which is why I was in that accursed kingdom, looking for herbs that I could not find in my native Germany. One of those Verdammt witch hunters happened upon me, and well, the rest would have been history had it not been for John Dee, who asked me if I desired to hang, and I said, no, I desire to be drawn and quartered, but the cowards would have none of it. He laughed.
I just because I have to ask. Is Captain Slater the witch hunter?
I will merely say this. When we are called together into the room where I meet my compatriots for the first time, and John Dee gives us our assignment.
Oh, well, then sit on that moment for a bit then. Sit on that moment. Because I am curious what gave away a certain Jesuit, if that's the case. Sorry, proceed. I beg your pardon. I shouldn't interrupt.
By all means, ask questions. Mr. Dee certainly did.
And so you were said to be hung because of an accusation of witchcraft, which is a shame because you sound like a proper Protestant.
I am indeed. I have nothing with the papists. I was merely in England looking for herbs that I could not find in my native Germany because I am a physician. I am a healer. I am a doctor.
but there's a little bit more than that, isn't there, to you, in terms of the way that your philosophical leanings have led you into an interest in certain ancient and esoteric orders.
Is it my fault that the English don't know what Stonehenge is yet?
And there is it not also the case? And now we flash back to what passed for your trial. Is it also not the case that you have spoken on the invocation of the dead and of entities bound to the spirit realm?
I am a doctor. Who else would the dead say things to if not a doctor?
Okay. I can see why you ended up in the tower. And just to conclude then, probably in a slightly concerning for a Protestant way, you've been gifted with a favor of the angels as well. Sounds a little bit papist to me, but
angels
but
are not
favor?
saints, good sir.
You see, that's the kind of discourse that will have got you into trouble. So which favor have you been granted?
The favor that, had it been granted, even a bit sooner would have had me out of the tower in nothing flat, corrode.
discolor, dull, or make brittle. Yes, fine. Okay. Then the final thing that Dr. Dee said to each of you in those cells was that once you had signed and you had been given a second chance, you were to go about your lives until you received a message from an agent of his called Mr. Garland. And Mr. Garland would be the go-between between the pair of you. And Mr. Garland would deliver an item that you would need, each of you, in order to do Dr. Dee's bidding. And so I think, shall we go back round and say, Titus, what do we see of you out there outside the tower? When do we first see you on the streets of London? What are you doing?
I think I am wandering the banks of the River Thames. Running on my last coppers. I have not but a small purse here from Glastonbury, but a man who knows his way around town with a deft hand can make a living here. Although he must be careful, or he will find himself in need of Dee's pardon once more.
So is it a busy crowd, or is this after the crowds have dispersed?
I don't know enough about the Thames at the time. I think it's amidst a busy crowd. I believe I am using my sleight of hand from the Octagon Society to pick a pocket or two.
Fine. So we see you just perhaps, or maybe a pie from a pie stall. Let's cut to Theophilus Clark. When do we first see, or when? Sorry, I will try again. What do we see of Theophilus a few days after he's been released from the tower?
Yeah, he is in some square. Let's say he's also in London, and he is telling a crowd of more or less interested persons about the truth and about what they should believe and what they shouldn't believe, and that they should wake up and figure out the truth and think for themselves. And then some persons who wear uniforms, or some sort of, maybe they're not even wearing uniforms, they seem richly attired, and he suddenly gets very nervous and says, well, that's all well and good, and you should absolutely, but there's something to be said for authority. And then he vanishes quite quickly into some sort of
slips away
alley.
Into an alley.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, because the officers of the watch had been told that there was a preacher on the edge of heresy. Captain Slater, what do we first see of you?
I think it's me in a squalid sort of dungeon room.
Go on.
You know, I've been given the final sacrament, and yes, I'm being led to the pyre.
No, hang on. You've signed in blood to agree to Dee's terms, so you've been released. When
yeah, well, no,
you...
I'm being led to the pyre when basically I'm dragged down a side passage by some of Dee's men,
Mm-hmm.
And I can hear the baying crowd outside shouting, "Slater, burn him!" As I'm led away by Dee's men.
And thrown out through a side door of the temple, having signed in blood.
I think down some sort of waste sort of tip passage sort of thing.
So yeah, let's have you stumbling about knee deep in Thames mud as the tide is out, as you make your way away from the tower. That's fine. And finally, Herr Schwartz, what do we see of you after your release?
I've opened up a small shop where I brew tinctures and other such remedies as the Queen will allow. In her short-sightedness and denial of science. But this is apparently my lot in life until I have the good fortune to die on one of his horrific errands.
So I think what I'm seeing is that you know, we see you with a mortar and pestle, perhaps grinding something up. When you hear the door doesn't open, but you hear a voice behind you, and I think, Captain Slater, you are trudging through this mud, trying to get to one of the sets of stairs that will take you up to the beside the Thames. When you too hear a voice, and Theophilus, as you are running down, you're going down this alleyway, just looking behind to make sure you're not being pursued, a voice in front of you draws your attention in the darkness. And Titus, I think as you are picking up that pie, a voice in your ear is what distracts you. And each of you hears a voice. It has a gorgeous tone. It has a gorgeous tone. This is the voice of someone with a wonderful tone of voice, perhaps probably with a fantastic singing voice. And each of you hears the same voice. And on screen, we might well have split screen here, or where each of you hears the same thing, just far enough out of phase for us to know that there are multiple conversations going on. And the voice says, "My name is Mr. Garland. Tomorrow at dawn, you are to be outside the Curtin Theatre in Shoreditch. Before you leave this place, though, look down, and you will find something that you will need." Tobias, the weird thing is that you're kind of trudging through this mud knee deep. What's left of your finery being besmirched. And the voice comes from above you. And Mr. Garland is standing on the mud. Theophilus, in the darkness, you hear the voice. And it is, there's no sunlight in here. It's very dim indeed. But Mr. Garland appears to be lit with an inner light.
I'll follow my ass.
Titus, Mr. Garland is standing at your shoulder. And he says, "I should put down the pie."
It's incredible because I'm stood in an alleyway with no entrance behind me.
Odd.
And
Odd.
Ah, good sir, I did not see you there. And I stashed the pipe in my pocket.
And Maximilian, though you did not hear the door open, he is standing at the counter immediately behind you. You heard not a footfall. When you look down, Tobias, what small handheld item do you see?
I think a wooden tongue, a carving of a tongue.
Fine. You will find at the top of possessions, there is Dr. Dee gifts all his agents with a unique black amulet. Describe yours. So, Tobias, would you write in to the character sheet that yours is a carved wooden tongue? Human tongue? Snake's tongue?
I was going to go for yeah, let's go for a human tongue.
Fine. Maximilian, before you on the counter, which you swear blind, was absolutely, sorry, you turn round and Garland points behind you next to the mortar and pestle where you've just been working. What do you see there?
It is a small chunk of obsidian with a hole punched through it, and a small leather cord strung through
So
that.
it could be worn. Fine. Describe your black amulet in those terms. Let me come to Titus. He told you to look down, and at your feet, as you were stashing the pie, what do you see?
I think it's some sort of human-ish figure carved from wood with a halo around its head, like an icon.
Fine.
Of a saint.
You know, you could hold it in the palm of your hand.
Yes.
All of these should be reasonably small and inconspicuous.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yes.
Describe your black amulet. And finally, Master Frost.
It is a Celtic weaving, like a bracelet.
Fine. Leather, pewter.
I think like stained leather.
Stained leather. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. And Garland will say, with this, and I'll just read the rule here. If you look at the little box on this, it says, hang on, where's it gone? Black amulet. The black amulet allows you to speak and understand all tongues. But as you will discover, if you try this, it doesn't bring any sense of the tone of voice. Somebody can speak to you in an angry or dismissive tone of voice. All you've got to work on is body language or the look on their face. You can't tell from the words they're speaking. And suddenly, I guess, in this market, Titus, there will be a variety of different nationalities about. And suddenly you can hear them all speaking in English, though it's in that kind of slightly flat, neutral tone. And I think let's have this be Maximilian. And as you pick it up and presumably put it around your neck, Maximilian, is that the plan?
That depends. Does he want anything else?
Well, what do you do with it? Let me ask you that.
I glare at it.
And what you hear is Dr. Dee's voice. And Dr. Dee's voice says, come, Mr. Schwartz. With this, you will be able to communicate with me, and perhaps I with you. Do not discard it.
As if I wanted to speak to one more person. And I sigh and I put it on.
And so you have your black amulets. Describe them as you did. Now I've run past my normal hour break. It's now 1/4 the hour. Can I suggest a swift 5-minute break? Is 5 minutes long enough? Yeah, okay. I'll see you at 20 past the hour. Okay, we're back from our break, and I am going to cut to outside the Curtain Theatre in Shoreditch at dawn the following day. Now, this, I suppose, is where I need, just talk to the players for the moment, I need Paul and Puckett to decide whether they already know one another. What's your view on that, Paul?
I'm happy if you know,
Puckett,
Maximilian Schwartz wants to know me. If I'm the man that implicated him, and then he outed me as a Catholic.
What do you think,
I
Schwartz?
mean, I'm totally fine with that adversarial relationship. If you want.
Fine, let's go with that then. So what? How does the audience know? I'm thinking, Slater. You know, are you hoping, Tobias, to get at the end of this to get back into the position in society you previously held?
Don't really think as a Catholic you can ever come back.
Well, never
from this.
say never. Dr. Dee has said this is a chance to make things right.
Yeah, I'd like to get some of my social level back. That's for sure.
Well, then
You
I'm
know.
going to suggest that Tobias is here first. Yeah. And then another 3 people come, and you're, you know, that uncomfortable moment where you know that you are supposed to be here, but there are 3 other people here. Maximilian, when you see Tobias standing in the dawn light, the man who arrested you for witchcraft, what does the audience see?
I stride through the mud, reach back, and I slap him across his face and say, it would have been better for you if you had burned.
And Tobias, this is the man that you have been told outed you as a Jesuit.
Clearly a witch or a sorcerer. A real gentleman would have never have outed a witch locator. Therefore, you must be a sorcerer.
My eyes narrow. I would expect that from someone such as yourself. An unbenighted member of an inbred aristocracy that refuses to acknowledge science exists, whether you will it so or not.
And that, I think, before this goes too far, because we now got a flavor as an audience, that is when, because my guess is that Titus and Theophilus are looking at this. And that's when behind you, Theophilus, you hear that same, it's like the tone of a sweet bell. And Mr. Garland says, "Thank you all for coming." Theophilus, what's your reaction when out of nowhere he seems to appear again?
Hate it. I kind of, ugh. I'm easily scared.
And I guess you all look at him now. And he says, Dr. Dee wishes you to take the Norwich road to the north and retrieve an item he requires. He has gifted you that, and he points to the ground, and just sitting in the mud between the 4 of you is I guess I describe it as a terribly small vial. It's a glass vial, no bigger than my index finger, and it's full of a clear liquid. Who picks it up?
I take a step back. I'm not touching it.
Titus picks it up.
Bends down and picks it up. He's found many a good thing in the mud before.
Mr. Frost, look carefully into the vial and you will see an eyelash.
Why, yes, I do, good Sir Garland. What manner of eyelash be this?
This will be your guide. Follow the Norwich road and then follow the eyelash follow the path that the eyelash gifts you, and you will find that which Dr. Dee requires of you.
Titus nods as though he knows what the hell this means.
Are you not going to tell us what Dr. Dee requires? I mean, we might make a mistake and pick up a rock that we think he needs, and instead he needs a flower. So
the eyelash will guide you, as will your innate good sense.
I have been told I have not much of that.
Then
It is not true, but still.
Then, Friar, perhaps consider this a test.
Very good. We will go, we will follow the eyelash, and we will retrieve whatever is needed, I think, unless the two gentlemen here wish to come to blows first to settle their difference.
Tobias, Garland looks at you. Does it look like you want to take this any further, or has his arrival diffused the moment?
I think his arrival's diffused the moment. I clearly know I'm superior, so that doesn't need to be proved.
I suggest you set off. I believe that rain is forecast, and that is the point when the clouds come over and it begins to rain heavily. I think that. What do you do? Yeah. Let's go round. Maximilian, what do you do?
I stare daggers at this betrayer.
Maximilian, not quite prepared to let it go by the sound of it.
Would you let it go if someone sent you to your death merely to save themselves?
Oh, no.
Get over it. You're not dead.
I mean, you did send him to his death in return.
And clearly it didn't take.
Well, maybe that was God's will and his foresight is acting in this, and we might all come together so we all won't be sent back to the pyre, which is something I personally do not desire.
Are you also a papist?
I roll my eyes at that.
Good sirs, good sirs. We are all learned men. We are all men of secrets and knowledge. We are all cunning men, as they say in the country. And should we not join our forces and get out of this blasted rain? And I put my hood up on my well-appointed travel cloak, and I say, I turn to Mr. Garland. Is he still there?
No. Once you started talking to one another.
Well, Mr. Dee. Mr. Dee certainly has. Oh, come! I know of an inn. Come. The food is good and the tables are long, and so you may sit at either end. Tobias. And, oh, sorry. My name is Mr. Froste. Do follow.
Why would I want to get out of the blasted rain when I could catch my death of cold?
Don't worry, Mr. Frost. You'll hardly be able to slip by us. I will just follow the smell.
Good jest, my lord. Good jest.
So Titus leads his way to the public house around the corner from the theatre. It sounds like Tobias Slater follows him. Theophilus?
Yeah, I've already started to walk because standing in the rain. Why would I stand in the rain if there's an inn nearby?
And I guess there's a moment when Maximilian is standing there as the heavens open. And then, does he continue to stand there or does he follow them?
I harumph and head into shelter.
The inn, it's early. So you probably have to get the landlady up. But she will provide a cup of ale and a crust of bread and some cheese. And and she says, "Oh, are you the gentleman I was told to expect?"
We certainly are.
And she
Bring
goes,
us the prepared breakfast, please, good lady.
and she provides you with breakfast, but also she lifts onto the table a satchel that she was told that you would be collecting.
I will collect the satchel. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm collecting. I mean, so there might be something interested in. I will look into the satchel, and if it's interesting to my interests, I will keep it, and otherwise somebody else can have it.
In there, you will find supplies for a day's travel for the four of you.
Oh,
but you will also find something else, and this requires me to ask you to just, can you see that just towards the bottom of the sheet, there's a tradecraft?
yes.
And there's a little tick box with a note on it. Can I ask you just to hover or click on that box so you can see what that note says? There are a number of different kinds of items, it needn't be a physical item, but it could be something a physical item that gives you access to certain things. And those categories of, this is useful stuff that you could use during your mission or missions. There could, for instance, be in there something that gives you access, summarizes the people's groups, associations known to you. Maybe it is something that would allow you to contact someone from the association that got you into trouble in a locality. We needn't define the detail of it until you choose to use it. It could be something related to a conspiracy, represents agency and action in relation to the diverse powers and groups focused on obscure biblical tracts, influential personalities, or notions of divine heritage as their central tenet. So it could be that this isn't a respectable association, but an heretical one that you could invoke, if you will, to use a fate term. It could be something that would allow you to be better prepared than the other would be. Kit. Kit is a physical something that you could then define later on. The right piece of equipment at the right time. It could be something that is vaguely magical. It could be that it is an item, perhaps with another favor attached, or perhaps with some other magical or supernatural function. Again, we don't define it. All we do is to settle on a category.
Nice.
Or it could be something that's described here as system. Describes a way in which you will be familiar with the levers required to sidestep the law, accelerate bureaucracy, blah, blah. It could be a cover letter of some description that would allow you to get out of jail free, potentially literally, outside London. It could be, it's described here as vigilance, portrays a flair for watchfulness, curiosity, and caution, the gift of a well-timed revelation. Perhaps there is something in here that sharpens your focus on the world around you. Yeah? Again, we needn't define the detail until the time comes. What we do have to agree is which of those categories you think might be useful on this wild goose chase. Let me go round to Herr Schwartz. Which of those categories, put it this way, would you like to select on your sheet the category that you would like to take with you? And then can I ask each of you to do the same? And we'll see if there's any consensus. Feel free to ask questions, but they are meant to be quite broad. So far, 3 choices, 3 different choices. Somebody wants magic, somebody wants vigilance, somebody wants a knowledge of the system. Our former courtier, of course, wants something to do with the system. Our holy fool wants something to do with magic. And as we've come to note, perhaps, the friar would quite like to get a warning when something's going to go awry.
Well, you know, need to be prepared. But I'm willing to change that to magic, because we need to get some consensus. And I like magic as well, since Puckett hasn't chosen anything. So I'll go with throw myself in with Paul.
In the
here.
magic direction.
With Will. Sorry, not with Paul. With Will. Sorry.
So,
All these English names.
And I will choose anything that the betrayer has not chosen.
So that could be magic.
Yeah, I mean, when in doubt, choose magic, right?
I mean, I was looking at Kit, which would have just made us 4 for not matching. So after that, I'm just going to go with the role play choice.
Okay, I'm going to start filling these from the left-hand side, just for reference. So, everybody clear theirs, except for Mr. Frost. That doesn't mean that Frost carries it. It is available to all of you, whatever this is. And any of you could choose to declare it at any time. Yeah, it has
once
one
it's
use.
declared. Yeah, so we
Once
choose
it's
from either of those two.
declared, it solidifies.
I see.
Yeah, it becomes whatever you declare it to be, or whatever we agree it is. Yeah. And it would seem to me that it's a bit like that move in Brindlewood Bay, where you get the team gets to, or the group gets to use it once per session. So there needs to be some kind of at least consensus that now is the moment. Yeah, but who uses it doesn't matter. So Norwich is that way.
So Slater, are you not a Norwich man?
And what gave that away, Mr. Frost?
I swear I have heard your voice and your visage before, perhaps at court.
Excellent, and I will doff my hat to you. Well spotted. I am indeed a man of Norwich. So let's. So I would suggest we go via Chelmsford, Colchester, Ipswich, and then the good town of St Edmunds.
I think actually the road to Norwich runs a little bit west of that through Hertfordshire and goes kind of straight across. It cuts the corner of something.
Baldock direction.
And so you set off in the rain, which does not abate all day. You take some shelter under a copse of trees to take a meal in the middle of the day, but you continue to trudge on as dusk begins to fall, and dusk comes early because it's so overcast all day. You are beginning to reach the point where you really feel that you're going to have no option but to just sleep under a hedge. And it's becoming almost too dark to see what the eyelash is doing, because at the moment the eyelash seems to be pointing, orientated straight along this road that you are following. But you're going to have to take a break at some point. And you are walking along beside a wall, a brick wall in poor repair, to the point where bits of it have collapsed. Normally it would be 8 feet high, but there are sections that have collapsed, and through one of those bits of collapsed wall, you can see through the rain just the flicker of some light. Perhaps it's firelight, or a torchlight, out of a dark block, which is probably a building. What do you do, Herr Schwartz? What's your thought on this? You're a man of the countryside.
Does it look like it's even remotely serviceable shelter?
I think it's difficult to tell. It seems to be quite a big building with a single window or aperture through which light is emitting. You'll need to get closer to get a good look. Well, no, why don't we engage with the mechanics? I think that this is a perception which is kind of intellectual. So, Herr Schwartz, let us have you roll your intellectual resources, which is to say the D6. 1 or 2 you will falter. 3, 4, 5, and 6 you will succeed, and I will answer your question per chance.
2 moments here. I need to refresh.
Which color are you?
Red.
Okay. A 1, you falter. I can tell you nothing about this building at all. And until the fiction changes, I can't tell any of the rest of you either. So how would the fiction change, Titus, in a way that might allow me to ask you to?
Well, I peer through the hole in the wall where Herr Schwartz is, and I say, fellows, there is a place perhaps to rest away from this rain. Come on, let us here. And I climb over what remains of this wall to move it over, and I offer my hand to probably Theophilus, as the other two are probably glowering at each other.
I'm not glowering.
They've been walking on
want to get out
opposite
of the
sides
rain.
of you all day.
Yes.
So Theophilus is over the wall and not waiting to ask any questions. What about you, Tobias?
I mean, I would ask the question,
Go on.
what if I could figure out what kind of building this is? Is this a farmhouse, a manor, a monastery?
Okay, so you've gone over the wall and you're following Titus towards it.
Mhm.
I think the fiction has changed enough for me to ask you to, again, you engage your intellectual resources, which is in your case a D8.
Yeah, okay. I'll roll this one.
Remember that if you invoke a piece of your equipment,
I've rolled a 1,
oh,
so no,
Rain,
this is
just
totally a mysterious building. It's my brain is fogged with rain.
sleeting across in front of you as you peer into the darkness. Tobias, do you follow Friar Clark and Master Froste?
Of course, and I think maybe my stature would allow me to seek refuge from the house owner. So I'm more than happy to advance forwards to discuss this with the owner of the property.
I tell you what, because you are a Norwich man and presumably have travelled the road to London before, I would give you a step up to see if you can work out what this place is. So normally your intellectual would be a D4. It's a D6 because I'm giving you that local knowledge step up. Or perhaps it is referred to. Oh no, you're not. Oh yes, are you the person with the concise local travel pamphlet?
I do have a concise local travel guide written by one Mr. Portillo. I'm not too sure. It's a very good guide though.
So I'll give you a D6.
4.
4, that is success. This is Pissionbury Manor. Pissionbury Manor. It's you've been walking for probably about 7 or 8 hours now, and it's to the south of a town called Sawbridgeworth. But your recollection is that this house was gifted to that woman Boleyn by the old king. But as far as you know, it's been abandoned. Okay, does that seem like a reasonable amount of?
Yep. Is there any evidence from out here in the rain that it is not abandoned?
Well,
as in
there is
any candlelight?
The flickering light that drew Maximilian's attention to it in the first place. Maximilian, do you follow them as they trudge across this parkland towards the manor house?
I will let them go first in the hopes that Tobias catches a sword through his throat.
And as you get closer, it is revealed to be quite an imposing manor house. We're talking about a typical brick Elizabethan manor house, tall chimneys, 2 floors, windows in the roof, a fairly grand carved stone entrance. But there is only light coming from one window. And that is the curtains, some drapes have been drawn across. So you can see the light, but you can't see much else. Tobias, you seem to think that your status might give you some clout here, so I'm going to ask you first what you do. Oh, you are muted.
I will tap the door.
Tap politely.
More with the pommel of my cutlass. I mean, it's raining.
Bang.
Yeah.
Okay. Theophilus, what are you doing? Do you want to do anything, or do you just want to wait to see if somebody opens the door?
No, I mean, it's fine. He's kind of sort of nobility, or used to be, probably didn't. And then if he wants to be the first to talk to these people, fine. It can only go well. And if not, I'm a friar. I've slept in worse conditions. It's not snowing, so it's not hailing. That's the thing.
So you stay near at hand. Titus, do you stay near at hand, or you go somewhere else?
I wish to get inside as quickly as possible, and if no one answers, I will simply open the door.
Maximilian, you've been approaching more slowly in the hope that Tobias gets into trouble. You can see he's banging on the door. What do you want to do?
I'd like to venture around to the side of the house, see if there are any other points of entrance or exit.
Okay. There are a number of ground floor windows. They were all glazed at one point, but it's fair to say that many of them show that glass has been broken.
That makes me question whether whoever has lit that light is actually here with the knowledge of whoever owns this land.
And I'm very happy for you to look for a broken window you could get through if you wanted to.
Why not?
Okay.
I mean, that sounds like something that would involve physicality, and there's only a 50% chance I could fail at it.
Indeed so. Unless you can give me a good reason why some of anything that you currently have on your sheet would be a help to you.
I mean, it strikes me that I could quite easily knock more glass out with the staff to make it easier to get through that window.
Or lever it open, perhaps. So I'm
Without
very happy
breaking it.
for your physical D4 to become a physical D6.
Okay.
It couldn't be a 1 again, could it?
Oh, perish the thought.
Holy mother
Indeed,
of
it
God.
could.
Oh my goodness me. One end of the staff is grabbed and you are pulled forcibly up against the window. Do you let go of the staff or not?
Of course not. It's mine.
Okay, let me leave you there. Do you cry out then?
Of course I cry out, let go of my staff.
Theophilus, Tobias, Titus, you will hear this just as the door opens and an aged servant with a candle peers out into the dark. Tobias, you're nearest the servant, so what, if anything, do you say or do?
Ah, good sir. Would you ask the lord or lady of the manor if they would grant succor on some travelling folks on the way to Norwich? We've been caught in this storm, and yes.
I'll come back to you in a moment. Titus, Theophilus, just as the door opened and Tobias sets off on that spiel, you hear this cry from just around the corner. What do you do, Titus?
I look at Theophilus and I say, where has that moody German got to?
That moody German has got into trouble, I fear. Would you take a look and see what he's up to, or should I? I think it would be better if you did.
Yes, I will make sure that he does not ruin our chances of a good night's sleep.
Very good. I will stay here and make sure of the same with this guy.
Yeah, we're both babysitting one of them.
So I think, Titus, you go around the corner and you see Maximilian engaged in a kind of tug of war with this staff. I have to say, Maximilian, given that your physical is D4, I think you are unlikely to hang on to it for very much longer. Do you want to do anything else before Titus gets there?
As a matter of fact, I do. Somebody's trying to pull the staff through the window. I'm resisting it.
Yeah.
It occurs to me that the easiest way to address this issue is to assist them in trying to pull the staff through the window by forcefully shoving it toward them.
I think that that's an intellectual challenge. But you are using your staff, so your D6 in intellectual will become a D8.
All right, there's that D8. There's no way I could roll a 1 again.
That's my view.
That's a 7.
And then you let go of the staff and just push it towards them. There's like, oof, and a clatter as somebody falls over, taking the staff with them through the window. Titus, that's what you see. What do you do?
But what foolishness is this? The door is open. Come on, let us be inside.
I was rapping on a window trying to get someone's attention.
Listen, we can clear this all up inside, okay? Sorry, good sir. Sorry, we will be inside shortly. I beg your pardon.
I expect my staff back when I get there.
Okay. I'm just wondering. No, we'll leave it at that, I think. So at the back of the door, Theophilus and Tobias, a figure, in the darkness, out of because the candlelight is in your direction, behind the servant, in the dark hallway, a figure says, "Robert, let them in."
I'm going in, because if Tobias isn't moving, I'm going in. I'm standing in the rain, and if I can get out of it, I like that. And I will say, bless you, good lady. It was a lady, right?
No, it was a man's voice, I think.
Oh, bless you, good sir, bless you.
And Robert, the servant, stands to one side, kind of looks slightly concerned.
I'll give him a friendly smile and pat his shoulder maybe or something, like to get him, to set him at ease.
As you reach to patch his shoulder, he flinches.
Oh no, we are just travelers caught by the rain. We are very cold and wet, and would appreciate a roof over our head for the night.
Yes, sir. Theophilus is bundled through. Tobias, you follow, I guess. Titus, do you kind of bring Maximilian back round to the door? Sounded like.
Yes, and I smile at at Robert, and I nod and I shake off my cloak and I stomp inside and I peer around and I say, "Sir, is there another servant? I fear my friend may have startled them."
Oh, only my wife, Sarah, sir.
Ah, then my apologies to your wife, good sir. Herr Schwartz? And I just back away like.
A wife, you say? That was a bloody draft horse, if anything.
I don't know what happened, sir. My wife is in the kitchen.
I think we are guests in this house, Herr Schwartz, please.
I was trying to knock on the window and someone pulled my staff through it.
Well, customarily in this country, you knock on doors, not on windows, if you want to gain entrance to a building. I smile at you.
You English and your bloody traditions and cultures and customs.
Forgive my friend, he is a foreigner and not used to our quaint ways.
The shadowy figure who called from the back of the hallway for you to be allowed in disappears through. You see it again, a tall, dark, indistinct in terms of outline. Just for a moment, fleetingly outlined from the light from the chamber beyond, and shouts over his shoulder, "Bring them in, Robert. Bring them in." He doesn't sound to have a very refined accent. And Robert kind of ushers you towards the door.
Yeah, let's go towards the sort of grand meeting room.
But wait, you said he doesn't, so I will turn to Rob and say, that was not your wife, was it?
Oh, no.
Oh. Well, we'll make our introduction.
I will go and ask her if there is any of the dinner left.
That would be fun. That would be very kind of you.
Scuttles off below stairs in search of kitchen and something for you to eat, it looks like. And so you enter this, it's the small hall. So it's not the grand hall that this manor house would have, but it's a small hall. And there is a fire burning in the hearth. There's some candles, some candelabra burning on the table. But it must be said that the people sat around the table do not look like they belong. They look even less reputable than you. And just at that moment, somebody comes through a door at the back of this room, clutching a staff, and sees Maximilian, and he's coming towards him as if to go for him. And the tall figure that you've not had a good look at so far says, now, Edward, guests in our house. And Edward throws the staff on the ground and goes to take a seat.
I told you it was as big as a draft horse, and it was no woman.
And he is a big bloke, it must be said. Yeah, there must be half a dozen of them, because there's the chap who's been invited you in, there's Edward, and there are 4 other people sat around this table. And it must be said, it would be polite to say they look like travelers. They actually look more like beggars.
Thank you, kind sirs. Do you mind if we warm ourselves by your fire?
Make free with the heat, my friend.
Excellent.
I am Upright Tom by name, and you are welcome here.
Thank you for the kind welcome, good sir. We appreciate it on a day like this.
Robert will find you some food, I'm sure.
Is Robert your man, Sir Tom?
Oh, I am no sir. Ha 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 ha! Right, there's laughter around the table. Oh no, he's no sir. Ha ha ha!
Anyone who puts a roof over my head is a sir, good sir.
Then sit.
Of course. So, but yes, Robert, the servant. You have a servant and a cook.
Between you and me, it would be more polite to say that the house has a servant and a cook.
Well, to the house.
And then one of them says, well, we've got the house.
And a very fine house it is.
I think it's seen fairer days, but it keeps the rain out and the heat in. And there's still a bit left in the cellar to eat and drink.
Excellent. I will address Upright Tom and say, I believe this manor has some history. I believe Jane Seymour stayed here.
Oh, that'd be news to me. I never been keeping up much with all them wives.
So any idea where the Lord of the Manor is, Tom?
Well, what Robert tells me is there ain't been a Lord of the Manor in some time. Ian, his wife, Sarah, they're as much squatting here as we are, really.
Unusual that a family member has not turned up to take possession.
Well, we're not going to go looking for him anyway, says
Of course. Let's hope the Queen's tax collectors don't come a-calling.
Oh, we'll be long gone before that happens. Edward continues to stare menacingly at Maximilian. He said nothing. Theophilus, what's your feeling at this point?
My feeling at this point is that we need to diffuse any kind of tension here. I wonder if I'm the right person, but looking around, yeah, probably. So I will start to strike up a conversation basically with these guys, like tell them maybe some travel stories, not from today maybe, but somewhere else. Since these are clearly not exactly people of since these are clearly outlaws, I won't go preaching at them. That usually doesn't work that well, and I don't want to get my throat cut. So Yep, I keep my satchel close to myself and will try to seem as unassuming and poor. And I will also maybe let it slip that I met the other 3 fellows on the road today and that we struck up a companionship.
Never seen them before in my life, just in case they do anything unfortunate.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
just want to be clear. Are you engaging one of your abilities?
Yeah, flattering, sure.
I
mean,
thought you might. I thought you might be angry for that. So I
Yeah.
think I think this is, again, it's an intellectual challenge. I think it's not physical, it's not supernatural.
Yeah.
So it falls into the middle. So 8, but because you engage with that, I'll give you a step up to a D10. What could go wrong?
don't say that. You're hexing it. And then, yeah, it's a 2. See, I told you. Can somebody burn this man at the fire?
You were looking to diffuse this, and I think Edward is the person who is needing the most diffusion. And halfway through your whatever story you're telling, he jumps to his feet and said, "Tom, I want him." And he points at Maximilian. Maximilian, what do you do?
I look at him and say, "Sit, let me take a look at you. I have some experience with herbs. I might be able to do something for the bump on your head. I didn't mean anything by that."
Okay, so let's see. I think, is he going to let you near him? I think is the bottom line here. Are you sufficiently emollient? So I think, again, this is an intellectual challenge, but I'm not seeing anything that would give you a step up unless you can think of something. I mean, the offer is there, but I think you need to convince him to let you try to soothe his ills.
My complicated recipe?
Okay, so play that through for me then. So how is that going to help?
I pull out the piece of paper and I say, "I'm originally from Bremen. This is an old family recipe for a tincture that will cure almost anything. And if it doesn't cure it, it is sufficiently intoxicating that you will not be caring about it."
I think that's enough to get a step up. So take a step up on your intellectual convincing skills.
So that goes up to D10 now?
It does. No, it goes up from a D6 to a D8.
Oh, that's right, because I'm 8 on supernatural. Okay. All right, and re-rolling.
Oh,
that's a whopping 8.
So, and that does, he says, what does intoxicate mean?
Beer.
And he looks at upright Tom and says, "Sounds like a good recipe to me, boss." And so, yes, you have successfully diffused this, despite the officer's inability to sort them out. Titus, first, then Tobias. Do you want to do anything to alter the tone of the evening?
I am going to shake, warm my hands, and I say, "Oh, I think I'll go. My hands, idle hands, the devil's work. I'll think I'll go see if I can help Robert and Sarah, was it, with their tasks?"
Oh, they don't need help. They're servants, says Tom.
Oh yes, but
born to it they are.
Well, the sooner they are finished, the sooner we can eat and we can be warm.
Titus, why not spin these men a tale of legend? A goodly story.
A story, I do not know, but I could do it. Well, watch my hands. And I'm going to do some close-up magic with my sleight of hand. I think playing back and forth a coin, just a simple penny.
Okay. Now, before I do that, I need to know for Tobias, was that an attempt to get them distracted? And if so, what is it your intention to do with any distraction that is provided?
Oh no, that's way too
Okay,
thinking.
okay. No, I just was checking in. So Titus, you're doing the coin tricks. I think that's a physical trick.
Mhm.
So your D6 will take a step up because of your sleight of hand to a D8.
Okay. I can't invoke another thing on top of that?
Do you know, I don't know. Let's say you can at this point.
Well, then
Okay,
in
and I
which
will
case,
check the rules.
it's the glass eye that I'm using.
Oh yeah, fair enough. No, I go. Yeah, let's do that. Let's give you 2 steps up for, because the glass eye is fascinating already.
Yes, the way it catches the light and, you know, it reflects around, and I know the weight of it really well and everything. So that would be a D10, I guess, at this point.
Just hang on. Let me just step up. Increase or ease a challenge difficulty because of factors environment, probably, and frequency. It doesn't say there's a limit. So let's assume that everything you can invoke sensibly in the narrative can reasonably increase it. So yeah, that'll be a 2 step up.
Cool. Go on.
And then bang as it hits the floorboards and rolls slowly across.
I think I go, and you know, it's not in my hands, and then it just drops onto the floor.
I will remind you that you do have the option of fortune. You could cash in your single fortune token in order to improve or to re-roll that.
Why not?
Okay, so mark fortune and re-roll. I mean, what's the chance of a 1 coming up twice?
Ask Bucket, yeah. That's an 8.
There you go. And everyone goes, ha! And then they realize that it's still in this hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they are entranced by this. I'm noticing it's nearly 10 past the hour. I'm going to suggest that as the evening proceeds in this manner, everyone's now friends, food arrives, and we will come back at, shall we say, 15 the hour for our last bit of the session and see what happens then. Okay,
Sounds
I'll
good.
see you then. So unless the sense I got was nobody wanted to interfere with the general kind of warmth of the evening as it develops, and everyone sleeps in this room. All of them sleep in this room because it's where the heat is, apart from Robert and Sarah, obviously. So do all 4 of you bed down here, or do you have any different plans?
I'd be interested just to look around the ground floor. Is there a library?
That's a good question. There almost certainly will be a library, you know, because it's a manor house, isn't it? So yeah, by all means, do you wait for everyone to go to sleep and then sneak about afterwards, or do you just, you know, during the evening slip away and have a look
I think
around?
during the evening, take a candle and slip away.
Okay. There will be a library. Perhaps it's on the other side of the entrance hall from this small hall. And yes, a small but a compact but quite well stocked library. It's clear that, like much of the internal decoration, and indeed some of the external structure, that this has not been has not been looked after. So, you know, you take a couple, and some of the books are a bit mildewy. What do you want to do?
I would like to start thumbing the books, looking for cryptic insights into higher wisdom, which may be scattered in fragments of minor work.
I think that's very fair. I think that supernatural is what you're engaging with there, matters spiritual. And I think that I'm going to give you a step up. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this for your backgrounds. Oh no, because you had the option to choose something for Rites of Eleusis that might have been, oh no, brewing or organization. That's an odd combination, isn't it? Okay. No, I think I'll let you roll
D6.
flat. Just a
Fine.
D6, yeah.
6.
Oh,
the signs are powerful.
Certainly as you leaf through these things, you know, what approach do you take? Because you can't read them all. What, do you let a book fall open and see if it makes...
No, I'm not that smart a man. So it's the pictures. and there aren't many pictures in
There
old
aren't.
books.
Okay.
So
what,
stamp work.
what do you do when you find a picture?
I think I'm looking for markings in the sort of borders of the stamps that they use, secret signs.
Well, of course, that might offer transcendence with study. But are you going to stay all night, having taken a candle in here, or?
I think I will use the tip of my blade to remove these pictured pages.
So you spend an hour or so just flipping through, finding a picture and cutting them out.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to add to other incidentals picked up in passing a selection of woodcuts?
Certainly will.
That you can perhaps investigate later on. Unless anybody says not, I'm going to cut to the morning.
I would like to run around. I mean, I would, under the pretense of taking a leak, I would like to go and poke around this place. Just, see if they have a chapel or something here.
I think that, let me think, Anne Boleyn is a Protestant. I think the chance of there being a chapel is probable, but it won't be a Catholic one.
It doesn't matter. God sees me.
But you will find that is where Robert and Sarah appear to be, have made their sleeping arrangements.
That is weird. Why don't they sleep in the kitchen? It's warmer there.
When you go in, they are preparing for bed because they've provided food and drink, and you notice that they're sharing a plate of bread and drinking water, and yeah, it's odd. They're there in this small Protestant chapel, and when you come in, they look up and say, "What do you want?"
Forgive me. I only wanted to feel nearer, closer to God. And this seems to be a place that is as sanctified as anything can be in this benighted time.
What? And Robert plucks up his courage because you're not a threatening-looking individual, and says, "What do people like you have any value for God?"
Oh, I have pledged my life in service to God, and ever I seek to be closer to Him and His eternal truth.
The sense I think you get is that he looks at you dressed still as a friar, and he's not commenting on your Catholicism. He's commenting on the company you have kept this evening.
I'm just a simple man on the road with unusual companions, I realize, but travel with more people makes it safer.
Living off honest folk, says Sarah.
Well, what do you want me to say here? I have given my life to God, and I try to bring the truth of God to these simple people, or to the high people, no matter what. Anyone with a soul I will tell if they want to hear what I have to say.
And they just go back to eating, a bit of dried bread and water.
I wonder why are you in here? This is a place for prayer, not for eating or sleeping.
Prayer is all that is left to us, says Robert.
Wouldn't it be warmer in the kitchen, though?
I prefer the protection of God than just a fire, says Sarah.
Is there a danger to your physical bodies here?
Yes, and you broke bread with them this evening. They are ruffians.
I see, yes. Terrible times. I fear I'm not the kind of man to take on a pack of ruffians such as these with any chance of success.
No. Strong words, though. Take your peace of God with you when you leave.
God watches over all of us, as you know, if you are here. So I hope you won't mind me praying.
they ignore you. All right.
Okay. I poke around a little in this.
Are you looking for spiritual enlightenment, or are you looking for something?
As ever, I look towards the eternal truth of God as it shines through in material things, and if only that these material things might gain me along a bit more comfort in life. That.
Okay.
You have to be a pragmatist here.
I think that's an intellectual challenge. Is there anything you want to invoke to help?
I don't see anything that would help me precisely. I mean, I know quote and burst, so I know my way around a chapel. Maybe that could help.
I think the fact that you have been a friar, that would help if this was a Catholic church, but it's a Protestant.
Okay, then I'll roll my d8.
Okay.
And if it, this is a d10 that I've rolled. I'm rolling the d8, so though. Sorry, I'm confused. Come on, die, roll.
You
okay.
kind of look about. I mean, it just feels to me as if some of that accusation just hits home a little bit.
Yeah.
That you have preyed on them this evening, it turns out.
Well, I have not preyed on them. How have I preyed on them? They are servants of a house, and I've come to the house as a guest. That's not, sorry, but that is not preying on them.
Yes,
I have not. But they will not listen to me and my words. That hurts me.
Yeah,
little.
That is the defense of yourself that you take away with you as you return to the small hall.
Okay.
Maximilian, what about you? Any plans for the evening, or do you just let the evening proceed to tomorrow morning?
What I didn't tell these people that we are sharing this abode with is that I'm an apothecary, and why, yes, I can actually make a tincture that will either heal you or make you not care about it, but that will also render you unconscious.
So the tincture that you gave to Edward, was it in fact a sleeping draught of sorts?
Why not both?
So he feels better and then he falls asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that's probably intellectual, unless you're going to invoke some sort of magical component to this.
I don't think there's anything magical about chemistry, do you? Maybe at this time and in this age.
So a flat D6. Oh, you're using your mother's recipe again.
The recipe.
So you can have a step up to a D8.
All righty. And yeah, that's a 2.
So he does feel better, but he doesn't fall asleep.
I wonder, is one of the side effects that Mother never told me about that in some cases it can make people agitated, perhaps even enraged?
Shall we say that he is wide awake? Let's not push it any further than that. Let's see if something sets him off. And before I ask you whether you set him off, I want to go to Titus and just check in.
I think Titus wishes to be on his way on the Norwich Road and to follow this eyelash. So he is leaving the others to it, although he's giving one leery eye towards this wide awake bear of a man who has just taken God knows what from this strange German and is probably chewing his lips while he looks around.
For what it's worth, the eyelash is pointing you back towards the Norwich Road.
In the morning.
So Maximilian, nobody else, Theophilus has gone to pray. Tobias is gone somewhere. Titus is curling himself in a bedroll near the fire. Edward is looking agitated. What do you do, if anything?
What do you think that noble is doing wandering around this place?
What do you mean?
That noble, the one with that fancy accent.
Oh, the one with
I
the
don't
fancy
speak.
hat.
Yes, him.
I don't know. Why?
You have many nobles around here, do you?
No, thank God. Ha ha ha.
But you do now.
I better go and see. And he gets up and he bundles out of the hall. Tobias, you can hear a door slam. And then, where are you? Where are you, fancy hat? Where are you? What do you do, Tobias? You've finished cutting your woodcuts out of the books. You've stuffed them into your belt. What are you going to do?
I will ready my cutlass.
And what? Just stand there before the door like a pack of gentlemen?
Of course, in a very honourable pose.
Not behind the door.
No.
And the door bursts open. There's a candle on the table, the reading desk, and Edward comes in. He says, "What are you doing?"
Looking at the pictures.
You stealing things. You stealing our things. Anybody steals things, it's us.
Feel free to steal a book. They're all here on the wall.
Are you trying to de-escalate?
I am, but I think I will do it with my physical presence.
So
as in that pose I struck.
So intimidate him. So if it goes wrong, this would devolve to violence.
I think so, yes.
Okay. So I think you give him the full pose.
And I have the cutlass.
You have a cutlass, which gives you a step up. Is there anything else that you want to invoke?
I don't think. No, I think that's fine.
I thought you might invoke the fancy hat as, do you know who I am?
Can they stack equipment bits?
Well, I think we've decided that they can, because I can't find a rule that says they can't.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, the fancy hat telling him that I am clearly a man of authority.
Yes, exactly. And he is but a ruffian. So I'll give you a D8 with 2 steps up, becomes a D12.
Here we go. 10.
A 10. So I'm now going to engage with a rule that says resolve attacks. Success with an attack. The agent deals damage on their opponent, usually 1 hit. So you're going to do 1 hit to Edward, and you take none, though he whips out a sharpened stake. Are you going to run, or are you going to? Because he's not going anywhere now. You've drawn on him.
No, I think I'll cut him down.
So let's have you roll to engage him again then. Oh no, hang on. Sorry, I've just realized I have a rule. I have a D8 rule that says he has some protection. He's got a leather jerkin on. So I get to roll a D8. 1 or 2. 1 or 2 would block it, and 8 means that it doesn't block. So you have done a hit on him. And he's done no harm to you. You go again?
I think so.
I'll give you the same kind of intimidating stance. Roll a D12.
6.
I roll a D8 to see whether... Gosh, I've realized I just rolled a saving throw. It's kind of weird. That will do another point of harm. And he's kind of blundering around now. He's clearly outclassed. Do you want to finish him? And if so, is this subdue or kill?
Let's run him through.
Go ahead.
8.
Unless he rolls a 1 or 2 on this, it's bye-bye, Edward. It is bye-bye, Edward. Edward goes down in a pool of blood. I think that's where we break, because the logical place to pick up is with the aftermath and the consequences. Okay? Okay. Let me stop the recording and then we'll do some stars and wishes.